All right, Noah.
Pick.
Would you like to get started?
Fuck off.
I bought that today to make that joke, and I'm really happy.
Cheers to Spooky Cozy, the discussion.
Today we're talking about Roma.
Today we're talking about Daniel's alcohol problem.
Who the fuck eats at Arby's?
Actually, this is a shout out to Ben, not our editor Ben, but other Ben.
Whoa, Ben, do you like Arby's?
I don't know if Ben watches our channel, so this might be completely lost on him.
I'm talking to Ben, the editor. Ben, do you eat at Arby's?
Do you?
Ring the bell. Or is that not Arby's? No, Arby's is the bell.
I don't know. They have the meats.
Arby's, we have.
Oh, they do have the meats.
Can we be sponsored by Arby's?
Fuck
Or have
no.
we ever had?
If I let Arby's sponsor the channel, I'm sending a clear message that we will let anyone sponsor the channel. Noah got married over the break. Isn't that amazing? We went to California and he started a forest fire for the ambiance for his wedding. It was very cool.
I did.
Roma.
Nice segue. That is actually.
I think this is the loudest movie I have watched in terms of the feel. It felt like I was watching a silent scream. I have no other way to put it. It said so much. It was so emotional, yet it was so calm. It was so flat, and it was so slow. It was filled with emotion while presenting itself in the most reserved way possible. It was such a strange experience of a movie.
Okay, that is a really interesting take that I feel like I agree with on most points, except for the fact that my analogy is entirely different.
What? Give me your. I want your.
So this is really interesting, but I feel like the best way that I could explain watching Roma was actually kind of like watching a book. Like it felt like, and I agree with you, it was loud insofar as there is a lot of movement. Like there's very few close-ups on Cleo. There's very few close-ups on sort of the main characters, as it were. But it felt like one of those things where it's so artistic and it is so beautifully shot. It was kind of hard to watch any particular scene without trying my best to like analyze it, to look at it as sort of, this is clearly shot with intention and with purpose, and yes, many movies do that, but it was, in this movie specifically so, it was hard to watch it without feeling like I'm reading a book, and as I'm reading that book, I'm trying to look for metaphors and look for analogies and allegories and see like where is the underlying meaning, where are the references that I'm missing. It was loud, there was a lot of action and things going on in the background, but it was also, I guess, cerebral. Like it was hard to watch it without trying to really, really pay attention.
I want to say a lot about what you just said, But first we need to get into what this movie is about. We need to set up the story.
So Mason, what did you think the story was? Oh no!
I'll start by just saying what I feel like the movie is trying to do for its viewer. And this is a movie that is 100% about the stories that are most often overlooked, in my opinion, the people who have to suffer in silence. Like literally, this is the people who, while everything's going on around them, are having to deal with so much more than we're aware of because they're the people who we don't pay attention to. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's where the movie is trying to shine its spotlight the brightest with its main character. And in that aspect, I think this movie succeeded 100%. I do think on a technical level, this is a masterpiece. On an entertainment level, it's not trying to entertain me, but every movie needs to hold some level of entertainment. I did find myself so distracted by so many of the technical marvels that are going on that I was never, as you said, except I feel like I was just never not aware I was watching a movie.
Right.
You said it felt like a book to you. To me, it just felt like I was constantly watching the guy behind the camera be like, look how fucking good I am at this. This is goddamn masterful.
It is beautiful. It is like every shot I am in awe of. And I don't always feel that way about black and white films, but yeah, every shot I am like, I could take a still and it would look like a piece of art, you know?
Oh, completely agree. But at the same time, there's that balance of immersion to flashy. And in a way, a very very specific way, this movie is flashy because it's always setting up these big set pieces and the camera movements are so precise and slow, and it pulled away from my immersion specifically for the story and the story of this character, which when this is such a character piece, that is what I'm talking about, where I didn't get as close to that character as I feel like I should because of how much I was distracted by everything else.
Okay, that's all right. This is fun. I really enjoy this because you and I think both really appreciate the merits of this film and probably enjoyed the film. But I think we're kind of flipped on the roles that we usually take in this discussion.
Interesting.
Because typically, like in the past, the movies that we watch, I am more so, I'm looking for some kind of definitive plot. I really like it. I have a hard time when movies don't seem to have like an overarching plot. It's hard for me to like find any objective way to judge or look at a film when there's not sort of like a clear narrative arc somewhere in there.
You really like kind of blocking out the different beats of a story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and more so when those blocks are done really well, it's noticeable when those blocks are done well, and that comes across really well as a good film. And so in this film, which I would say does not have any kind of distinctive plot, like it does follow one character, but it is more or less the story not only of Cleo, but also of like just Mexico City as a whole, of like a host of characters of the city. Like it seems like we're always sort of watching Cleo within the larger context of a city that is alive.
And I completely agree. I think it's such a technical film and such an emotional film. And for my dumb brain, I have a hard time merging those two things.
So I'm glad that you said both of those things. One, the thing about the film being emotional and the thing about the film being technical. But I guess technical first, because it is definitely a masterpiece, and I'm going to look this up real quick. I'm going to shamelessly take my sources. Perfect. Okay, so on the technical side of things, Alfonso Cuarón,
which Noah's the research guy. I bring the audience guy.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're...
Sorry, keep talking. Didn't he direct Harry Potter? One of the Harry Potter movies?
Did he direct one of the Harry Potter movies? I think he did. No, I think you're right.
I got something movie and trivia right!
He did Y Tu Mama Tambien, and he also did Children of Men, which is one of my favorite movies. Oh my God, have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's so good. In terms of sort of the way that he shot the film, using that sort of pan out kind of not zooming in on the faces of people, that was taken from his friend and collaborator, and I'm going to get this wrong, but Emmanuel Lubezki, who has done a lot of films in a similar style. It came across beautifully. It is very artfully done. And then we were going to talk about the emotional side of it. But a lot of that is because this is probably Cuarón's most personal film that he's done. It is in many ways a memoir, I guess, to the women who raised him and to like the things that sort of formed him as a child. And that's like, I'm quoting Cuarón. I'm backing this with like the reading that I did on the film. So in many ways, like it's not, it doesn't really follow necessarily one character who sort of shaped him, but it's like sort of a patchwork of a bunch of different scenes and memories from his life, which I think makes so much sense having that sort of context for the film. In looking back on it, it does translate very much as a visual memoir. It feels very much like a bunch of sort of memories, and they don't come across as hazy. They come across as lived in memories. And I think that choice of his to not focus on, even though it does follow Cleo, essentially that's like more or less the main character, I think his choice to sort of follow the city and the family as a whole instead of one or two specific characters makes it that much more effective as far as we're talking about like emotional resonance for a film that doesn't really hit a lot of my high points when I'm like watching and critiquing movies. Just a beautiful film. It really, it hit with me.
There's this incredible sequence from how they achieved it level where they're in a department store about to buy a crib, and outside this protest goes extremely violent, and there's gunshots being heard. People come in trying not to be killed, try and seek refuge in some of the furniture, and people chase in after them and murder these people. And it's remarkably violent. I've always found the most effective violence in film to be violence that's not over the top highlighted. It's just like, and you have to just live with, there's no cut, there's nothing, it's just, that just happened in front of you, you have to sit with it. And this is how it treats that. There's not like any quick cutaways, there's just this brutal, blunt murder. And then it turns out one of the guys is actually her baby's father, Cleo's baby's father.
Yeah.
And we've seen this man and I think it's very intentional, naked. We've seen him naked, kind of him embarrassing himself, but also showing who he really is in those moments. And then having that follow up with this radical moment. It was all on every level so poignant. Like the movement of the camera, the violence outside, it coming inside, violating the space, which I felt myself thinking like, oh, that's out there. I hope it doesn't come in here. Oh my God, it came in here. Oh, it's getting, you follow all of that. It's so successful. And then you cut to Cleo's water breaking and just adding this weight on top of everything, the trauma she just experienced, and getting into spoilers to this movie. Right after that, her baby is born still. And I have to, for the first time in my life of watching movies, consider the fact, can there be too much emotion for it to be successful? Because I'm still processing 8 of the things that just happened in the last scene. Sure. And you keep piling on. And then you're showing me all this societal stuff. And like, maybe I'm stupid. I am stupid. But
Aren't we all?
I literally get to the point where I can't process it. Like my brain is trying to figure out and place and experience everything this movie just offered. And I feel like I'm a person who doesn't have the tools for the job. This movie forced me to experience the things that are happening on Earth every day to people and still have the safety of this just being a movie and I'm in my safe little home.
Right. And it does elicit a lot of emotion and empathy from the viewer, and that, I think, is the mark of a good movie, of any good movie. Even, this movie doesn't seem to have so much of an overarching plot, but even the ones that I enjoy that do have an overarching plot, they make you connect with the main characters. They do make you feel something. A good movie, at the end of the day, I think should make you feel something. Yeah. I think that is the mark of a good movie. Whether you're just trying to have like a good fun time with a popcorn action flick, you should be able to resonate with the heroes. Or, if you're sitting down watching a black and white movie by Alfonso Cuarón, and it has a lot of emotional, like real emotional, like day-to-day weight on top of it, you should come away feeling something. That is sort of like the first and foremost criterion for, I guess, what I look for in a film, or what sort of makes it something that I enjoy or that I don't enjoy, is how did I come away from it on an emotional level. Not just how was it shot, how did it look, how was the script, all that stuff. But how did it make you feel at the end of it? And I think with this film, it made me feel so much.
Yeah. And I think that's a really natural,
an effective movie.
Yeah, I think that's a really natural transition you set up there to the catalyst, the central point, the heart of all these roiling emotions to this movie, and that is Cleo, who has all of this happen around and to. Mm-hmm. And a character who is so held back, so reserved, yet still so there. Like, you get her.
Yalitza Aparicio. Sorry for butchering that name, but that's the actress's name who plays her. Yeah, absolutely incredible. And she received a lot of accolades for her performance of that character. And I think it's not that really loud sort of screaming or crying or sobbing or like fearful or, angry, whatever. It's not the over top emotions, but everything that she does is so clearly stated just with little like minimalist kind of expressions in her face.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And I want to disagree a little bit, because I think in acting, I was going to say we often try to find acting at a 10, right? We want to reach for those 10s in acting because it's flashy, the Joker, the Wolf of Wall Street, the stuff that's just so over the top. She does so much less, but I get as much fear, as much anger, because I know who the character is. And of course, she'd never do that thing where she's screaming in someone's face. That's just not who she is. But you can see like the hurt, the pain so well masked. And so I don't get a character who's less emotional. I get a character who's wearing such a heavy mask. Yeah. And that's what makes it all the more heartbreaking to see everyone around her not acknowledge her pain, not witness it, because she feels so unseen, despite having some of the most dramatic shit I've ever seen happen to a character happen to her. It's so, as you were saying, my empathy is just through the fucking moon. Yeah. Because I want to hug her so bad. This is one of those movies where it's like, if someone was like, put this in where would you rank this in your top 100? I would be like, I don't. Because I feel like, what am I going to do? Put it above Die Hard, but below Apocalypse Now? Like, it feels so wrong to talk about this kind of artistic
first of all,
endeavor.
Nothing goes above Die Hard ever. I guess the last two things that I really have on my notes is, one, So one thing that really usually connects with me is like the score for a movie. There was no score for Roma. There was no real music in the background to speak of, apart from the occasional like, what is it called? Diegetic sounds, which is basically just sounds in the background. So there were scenes where like a record is playing, or there's like music coming from the like cafeteria or wherever they're eating.
I feel like the score was replaced largely by the cinematography. And what I mean by that is all of the emotion I feel like the score was going to bring was accomplished by watching her, like, after she's gone through much, you have to watch Cleo walk up this several flights of stairs, and like the camera just waits and lets you watch her do all this right after going through everything you saw her go through. And I'm just imagining, like, having to go through all those stairs after the physical trauma of what she's just experienced, and every bit of emotion that would have been like, there's no music you can add on top of that would enhance the emotion you're feeling. You get it. You just get it.
No, I agree with that. And actually, there are occasions. So more often than not, I really enjoy music in the background, especially when it's well done. And as we are going through the AFI, more often than not, the music is really well done. And so it typically adds to the film. That being said, there are plenty of times where I watch a movie and there is music on in the background, and I just wish that it wouldn't be there. Yeah. Like, there are times when it actually distracts from the whatever is going on in that moment in the film, and I just kind of want to pay attention to that scene. And having like, I know, like, for example, like, I know that it's a stressful scene. I don't need the music to enhance it. No. Sometimes it's helpful to have like subtle music in the background when there's something stressful or something emotional going on. Other times it is more than enough to have the actors do their fucking job and like convey that emotion, or have the director do their job and convey the emotion just with the way they're shooting the scene. You don't need to add it. It can feel like extra and actually overwhelming and detract from the scene when you have too much going on in any one moment. And so to that point, I think Roma does something that I don't see all that often, which is have an absence of music and replace it with incredible performances and incredible direction.
Well, if there's one word that can speak to what makes this movie so successful, it is restraint. This movie is so restrained, it decided it didn't need to be in color. And that is like, I think that's
they were like, this will be too over, like, if we did this in color, it would be too overpowering for audiences. We have to take this down to 2 colors tops. We're going to do monochrome. That's it.
Okay, but, well, let's ask the foreign film questions then. Do you think this should be remade by an American director?
Fuck no.
Fuck no.
God,
this absolutely does not need an American remake.
No, Jesus Christ. No, it is so beautifully done. It's nice to have perspective outside of, that's what's so beautiful about foreign films. I feel like they do, and I hate to sound pretentious, but not everyone has like the money or like the freedom to travel outside of the country. And one of the best things about foreign films and the best things about the modern era is that you have access. Like, Roma is available for free on Netflix. Yeah. You have the ability to watch top tier foreign films for free online, and it truly, like, it gives you a glimpse into someone else's perspective from a different place, from a different time. And I don't. It takes place in the 1970s in Mexico City. That is a unique perspective. Even if we were to go to Mexico City, we would not be able to experience that in the 1970s. Yeah. And that is something beautiful. There's no reason to have it remade. In a very, very, very strange comparison, but trust me, come along here. It would be like saying, let's remake Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but put it in Tokyo. It'd be like, no, that's a love letter to LA. It wouldn't make sense. Okay, so I think that there are certain films where there's like kind of essentially like a mythology, right? Like where there is sort of a general, just like Star Wars, right? There's like a basic story, and it can be sort of copy and pasted in like on top of various backgrounds and cultures. In this case, not so. It is very personal. It is unique to a specific person at a specific time. Yeah. And so it doesn't, I don't feel a need to remake it. I wouldn't want to see it done any other way. It is nice to be able to experience that unique perspective. I think the final film we asked is, would we put it in the AFI Top 100 if the AFI let in foreign films? First and foremost, I need to say this explicitly and clearly to Ben. There is absolutely no need to keep this in the recording. Did you know, when you see people who own a koi fish pond, like you've been to people's houses and they have a koi fish pond, yes? Did you know that every fourth fish in the koi fish pond is a fake fish. That is a real, true, honest fact. When people buy koi fish, when people buy domesticated, which is not the right term, but it's the only thing that I can think of. When people buy koi fish for their homes, every fourth fish is a fake fish. And it has to do with luring males away, aggressive males away from females. That's part of it. So when you buy koi fish, you have to buy them in even sets of 4. And so the fourth fish is like literally like an animatronic fish that will like sort of like lure the males away from any potential females. That is a real thing. And the other reason that they do it is for keeping track of the koi fish. So they will keep track of the koi fish and they will label the fish, right? And so you'll have like an A koi, a B koi, a C koi, and a D koi. Roma!
I would put it in my top 100. Noah, what about you? That's a yes from Noah. Goodbye, everyone.